I'm Shirley Blome from Billings, Montana. On May 13th of 2004, my ex-employer charged me with embezzlement and forgery and destruction of paperwork. On August the 10th of 2005, the deputy county attorney charged me with an information, even though it was a criminal case and should have gone through the grand jury, but he filed an information himself. And then I had my trial on December 18th through the 24th on December 26th. I was sentenced in, I believe it was in January or March of 2007, 10 years probation on embezzlement, 10 years probation for forging my time card, and the other was dropped because they found that my ex-employer had lied to the court.
And before I ask you questions, I want you to tell the story of what happened with more detail. Who did you work for?
Okay, that's what I have in my questions.
All right. Who did you work for? How long did you work for them? And what led to this charges?
Can I read my script, or I have to just kind of go like this at times, huh?
Refer to it a little bit and look up, because this is stuff we edit for the movie now.
Uh-huh.
And so we want you to be looking and talking to me.
Okay.
But if you got to look down, you look down. So, but who did you work for?
Well, I worked for Willard's Garage.
Is that here in Billings?
Yes, it is.
By the way, when I ask you a question, always incorporate my question into your answer, because I'm not heard. So, for example, is that here in Billings? Yes. Willard's Garage is here in Billings.
Oh, okay. All right.
Say that.
Start. Go.
Go ahead and say that.
I work for Willard's Garage here in Billings, Montana.
And what led you to being charged by them? Did they charge you with this misconduct?
The owner of the Willard's Garage charged me, or filed a complaint against me in city court for embezzlement. At that time, it was just embezzlement. And then, of course, before it was all over with, he added forgery, and he added destroying his records, when he was the one who had destroyed his records, and that was brought out in court because I had a witness who was there. And I don't know what happened to bring the charges on. I really don't. It was never even brought out in court. What he was trying to say is all my tapes matched all my deposits, but he had some extra cash over here that I stole, but it didn't go through the cash register. And one attorney was telling me that you can't prove cash, but it doesn't make any difference. They sentenced me anyway, found me guilty.
So,
yeah, and I didn't run the cash register. 3 other guys in a back building run the cash register. I was up front upstairs, and they brought me the money, and they said in court that I always came to the back to get the money. Never happened. Never happened. They had it on my desk the next morning with all the invoices. So I posted invoices, made sure the deposit was made, and I thought everything was fine.
where did the cash go?
We don't know where. Well, they said I took it.
Oh, okay.
So it's buried, I guess, in my backyard. I'm really not sure where that cash went, but I think it's in the boss's pocket if you really want to know.
In your opinion, right?
That's my opinion.
That's my opinion. When you did the bank deposit, did you balance the register or whatever? Did you know it was short?
Oh, I would know if it was. I did everything. Oh, yeah. Because I'm the one who balanced everything. I was his accountant there.
Did it balance that?
It always balanced, and I had the paperwork to prove it, but they wouldn't bring it out in court.
So you were charged with embezzlement, but there's no record of any money being taken. You had all the reports to show that everything balanced, and yet you were still sentenced to huge amounts of time.
Right. Yes, I was. I was sentenced for 10 years probation for embezzlement, and I have to make restitution of over $100,000. So I'd like to find the $100,000. I don't remember where I put it. So
You're teasing, right?
Right.
Of course I'm teasing. I think even the judge thought, you know. But anyway.
So this was $100,000 that disappeared one day?
Well, no, they're trying to say that was in 2003, $100,000 just disappeared. So I started working there in 1998, May 13th of 98. And they're saying that I took this money over a period of time, but they said all of it was taken in 2003.
And you were charged in what year?
I was charged in, the complaint was filed in May of 2004.
When was the trial?
December 18th of 2006.
You need to say that. The trial was December.
My trial was in December the 18th for 4 days in 2006.
Are you a grandmother?
Yes, I am.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'm a grandmother. My husband and I are raising 2 grandchildren. I'm 72 years old.
Have you ever embezzled any money from anybody?
No, I haven't. No, I have not embezzled from anybody.
All right, we're rolling again.
Okay, where were we?
You were talking about public defenders. And
Yeah, and the only thing they objected to was the fact that I was called a tax protester, and they objected to that.
Did the judge sustain it or overrule it?
It was sustained, and anyway, we had a brief. We went out in the hall, a brief recess, and while we were out in the hall, I told after they accused me of gambling, I says, I'll get a hold of my son as a witness. He's the one that spends the money for gambling. It was him. And that one of the county attorneys told me, if you bring your son in here, I'll see that he spends the next 100 years in prison. And my attorneys didn't do a thing, not a thing, because at the time my son was on probation, but when he had spent his money, because what they did, they went through our bank account, you know, and they never even found where any money ever went into our account from anything. But my son had put $10,000 and some dollars in the account, which was his, to do with what he wanted. So when they accused me of gambling, I said, no, it wasn't me. It was my son and his wife. And that's when the county attorney said, you bring your son as a witness, and I'll see that he spends the next 100 years in prison.
The county attorney told that to you and your
Yeah, right in front of my attorney, he did. Yes.
That's just completely against the law, right?
Of course it is, but my attorney didn't do anything. Right then, he should have stopped. The whole thing should have been thrown out right there. It should have been.
And were you able to file an appeal on this?
Yes, I did. It cost me $6,500 that a friend came up with. And we hired an attorney to do my appeal. The only thing he appealed on was I was called a tax protester. That's the only thing that was on the appeal. So after the appeal, you know, they turned it down. I went through federal court. I filed speedy trial action because the Speedy Trial Act says after 70 days, if, you know, charges hasn't been brought or gone to trial, they have to drop all charges. My term was 465 days before I went to trial. So all charges should have been dropped after 70 days under the Speedy Trial Act. So I filed the charges in federal court because I didn't know what else to file it on, and Ninth Circuit turned it down. So I wrote a petition for writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court of the United States. And I quoted the Zedner case, which said after 70 days, if you don't, you know, if they haven't taken me to court, all charges have to be dropped. The Supreme Court didn't even look at it.
Yeah, they only look at 1 out of 100 petitions for certiorari. You could have filed, perhaps, a petition for writ of mandamus. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I just did it for the certiorari. But I think if they had read it, I would have been found all charges would have been dropped, I think. I don't know, but I think.
That's based on the presumption that the Supreme Supreme Court justices are honest or have hearts.
Right, yeah.
Which they don't.
Well, they're the ones who said under Zedner, 70 days, if they don't go to trial, then charges must be dropped. It was their own case.
Depends on who it is that they want to take care of.
Oh, well, they should take care of me.
See, I took 3 cases to the Supreme Court. They were mandamus, and asked them a simple question for each of 2 individual judges and then all the judges of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. You ask them questions, they have to answer. My question was, will you tell the federal judges in Georgia they have to abide by the Constitution? And you know what they replied with?
What?
We refuse.
Oh, yeah.
We refused to tell the judges they have to abide by the Constitution. I think it's one of the biggest landmark decisions ever, but the mainstream media doesn't cover it. But that is exactly why I'm here today, because a bunch of people heard about it on the internet.
Yeah.
And they all started emailing me their stories and calling me.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll talk about mandamus off camera.
Okay.
That's something that you...
It's not too late to do that, huh?
Maybe not, because what you would do is you would go for fraud on the court, which among the things would be what that prosecutor said to you and your attorney.
Yeah. But I have to get my attorney to admit he said it, because we were right out in the hallway. I think 2 of my friends heard it. Well, I know they did, because they said they did.
If people heard it and can give you affidavits, you're going to be able to substantiate it.
Yeah.
Now, they may treat you the same way they did me and just say, refused or something.
Yeah.
Hope Springs Terminal, you've got that case. You're on an elevator. What, you watch television network news at all?
Fox.
Fox. You're on an elevator with whoever your favorite Fox newscaster is on the top floor of this courthouse. You're going down to the first floor. You got 30 seconds to tell your story. Tell your story in 30 seconds.
Okay. Start.
Yep.
Megan, it's like this. I was sentenced 20 years probation, and I think Fox News should have a story on it because I was wrongly judged. I have maintained my innocence, and I will until the day I die, I suppose. I'll be 87 when I get off probation, so I'll be too old to care anyway.
But we'd love for them to cover it.
Yeah.
Explain your role for Willard and how you did this work for others. Tell me about your experience and the type of work you did.
Oh, well, my profession is that of an accountant, and I had my first husband and I had owned several businesses. My second husband was a farmer. I took care of all of our farm accounts. I worked for 2 dealerships here in this town. I worked for 2 dealerships in Texas, 3 dealerships in Texas as an accountant, and 2 in Lombard, Illinois as an accountant. So that's what I was doing for Willard, was accounting.
What evidence did you have that wasn't presented at the trial that would have established your innocence?
If they would have showed the evidence that my 2 public defenders went out there and did, which showed my other tapes, my deposits, and the paperwork that comes from back in the back, all balanced, every bit of it balanced. If they would have showed that to the court, they could see that my deposits balanced every day. But what was over here in this left-hand corner is what Willard said was extra cash, that I said, don't put it in the cash register, you don't have to do that. And he told that in court, and that was nothing but a damn lie. Because over here, it was, I don't know, several $1,000s. I mean, there's no way in 6 years he wouldn't recognize it. And as far as the time card forgery, I had cheap time cards. It didn't have on it where we'd write vacation or holidays. I had to write that in so I would know when I did payroll and give the employees the 8 hours or whatever. Well, that's what he said I forged. I forged it because he was too darn cheap to buy the other ones, you know. And I'd done it for 6 years. Nobody ever said anything. I didn't know I was forging it. I had no idea. So, and as far as destroying records, him and my witness are the 2 that destroyed them. And yet he was trying to say I did it.
But unfortunately, you didn't testify to say any of this.
I didn't. I was so nervous. I would never have remembered what to say. I just wouldn't have, because I'd had the 2 strokes.
My wife has legal abuse syndrome. She gets up, she just can't talk, she can't really, can't think.
Yeah.
Just impossible.
And that's what happens to me. I did fine till I had the strokes, but then I had short-term memory loss. That's just like you telling me what to say, or I forget in 2 seconds.
So is it possible you could have forgotten where you buried that $100,000?
Well, that's possible. Yeah, that's possible. But I'm sure, you know, my husband even got on the stand, and that deputy county attorney, when he got done with him, he says, well, it's real easy for a guy just making a paycheck to steal the money, isn't it? And that's my husband. Never done a wrong thing in his life. We neither one have, you know.
Had you ever been charged with a crime before?
Who? Me? Yes, I was. I was working for 2 attorneys in Dillon, Montana, and I had loaned it was just a one-man office at the time and 1-girl office. I had loaned the attorney $3,800. He took in a partner in January, and he started going through the books, and when I loaned Andy the money, he said, Shirley, whenever there's extra cash in the bank, pay yourself back, but don't ever let my wife know about it. Well, apparently the wife and the partner found out about it. I was accused of stealing. I was accused of misdemeanor theft.
Did you get off? Did he come to your aid or not?
He stood in the back of the courtroom, just stared at me. And that was in '93. I had lost my son in January. We lost our farm in March. I lost my stepfather in August. And in October, I tried to commit suicide. It was too much for me to handle. So I'm tired of being good to employees. They can kiss my ass, period.
Has all of this, do you still work?
No, I'm retired. No, I can't work. It's like the judge said, nobody's going to hire you, but you've got to make restitution, but I'm sure your husband will help you. Wrong. I had the check to prove the $3,800 that we loaned him, and my attorney didn't even stick up for me for that. He didn't. Attorneys stick together, let me tell you. And I'll tell you, because of that, there is an attorney in this town that wants to have anything to do with me. It's very difficult.
Did this $3,800 come up at your trial with Willard?
No, what they did, a motion for motion in limine, but it came out in the paper. It did.
I wonder how they found out about it.
I wonder too, yes.
There's more than one ways around a motion.
Oh, yeah.
What are the terms of your probation?
Well, I can't drink, or I can't go in a casino or a bar, or I can't leave the state without permission. Of course, no drinking, no drugs, which I don't, it's not part of me anyway. That's really about it. And to be perfectly honest with you, they don't bother me. If I want to go somewhere, I just call, I get the permission, and I've had no problems.
Any restrictions on your employment?
I can go to work, but I have to tell them that I'm on probation. And of course, that money would go to Willard, and I ain't going to work and pay him back because I don't owe him that money. He gets $25 a month, and he'll get it till the day I die.
If you wanted to work as an accountant for somebody, could you?
No.
That's part of your
I
job.
cannot handle anyone's money, no. I handle my husband's. You ought to keep check on it sometimes too.
What's wrong? Why do you think, do you have a theory or an opinion on why this happened?
Yeah, I do. I think the boss took the money, and I'll tell you why I think the boss took the money. Number one, he's a big-time gambler. I mean, when he gambles big. And I think he he was worried about the loss. Number one, I don't think his wife knows about it. I think she knows he gambles, but I don't think she knows how much he gambles. And I think he took the money. Three things could happen. One, he got an IRS write-off on his taxes. He got to collect the insurance on it, and he's getting restitution from me. So what a great way to come back with $100,000.
So he got it potentially three times.
Right.
I guess he would have to pay back the insurance with what you give him, but so he's at least getting, if he took the cash, he got it again.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, I kept telling him, check out his lifestyle. He don't make that kind of money. And they wouldn't check it out. I mean, he owns almost a mansion out by 59th Street or 72nd Street out there. Just built a great big building. Just remodeled his whole garage, I think, with that $100,000.
I'd like to get that address. You know his address?
Do you know what? I've forgotten it, but I'll find it. I can find out.
I'll drive by with a camera before I leave.
Yeah, it's right on Broadwater, 13th and Broadwater. It's a blue building, Willard's Garage. You can't miss it.
Where's his mansion house?
It's out at 72nd and King.
I'll write that down off camera.
I will.
My pen's over there.
Yeah. He owns, the court brought up the fact he owned like 38 vehicles. And he was worried he was going to go through bankruptcy because he just wasn't making any money, which he wasn't making any money. But he went and bought a Corvette. They brought that up in court, and he says, well, that's financed through Wells Fargo Bank, I think it was, one of the banks anyway. And he didn't tell him, he just borrowed $52,000 from the bank, telling him he needed it to pay his bills, but instead of paying the bills, he went and bought a brand new four-wheeler, two great big trailers to haul his four-wheelers and his whatever else in, and it didn't go for paying bills, believe me.
Did you do his income taxes or financial
No,
statements?
I didn't. I don't do taxes or financial statements. No.
What else haven't we talked about that we should talk about?
I think the jury, there was 3 people on that jury, but they didn't ask them if they knew Willard Myers. They asked them if they knew me. And it didn't come up, you know, do you know Willard Myers? Are you familiar with Willard's Garage? Or one person said she knew who Willard Myers was, and they get the business that they're getting some of his business because he charges too much money. And that's the only way it came up, you know.
She was on the jury?
Yes, she was, but no, they got rid of her.
There were only 3 people on the jury?
No, there was a 12-man jury, but there was 3 that knew Willard, but they didn't say, they didn't admit that they knew him. I found that out afterwards.
Were they asked whether they knew him?
No, they didn't ask if they knew Willard. No, only if they knew me.
Your attorney didn't?
No.
Didn't ask?
No.
What could help you or others in a situation like this? What needs to change?
I think the jury needs to be educated. Number one, it shouldn't be the judge telling that jury what they're going to do. It's the jury telling the judge what should be done. And that's because when that jury got up and left the room, they took only the prosecutor's evidence against me. They didn't take any of my evidence at all. And she's the one that had told them what they were going to look at or what they were going to come up with or whatever. I forget what they call it, but and that's what they did 45 minutes later.
What's the name of the judge?
Ingrid Gustafson. The name of the judge is Ingrid Gustafson.
Is she still active here in this building?
Yes, she is. She's still a judge. Yes.
Have you run into other people that have been unhappy with the way she's handled cases?
I haven't talked to anybody about it. I don't know if they are or they aren't.
Because usually when there's smoke, there's a blazing in front.
Oh, there probably is. I can't say she wasn't fair. She didn't put me in prison, and she could have, you know. The rest of them that I read about embezzlement, they're in prison. I'm not.
How old is Ingrid?
She's probably in her 50s. I think probably in her 50s. But I had several people to write letters for me. And she read all that. She says that what I'm finding really difficult here is these people are giving a complete different impression of this lady than what I'm hearing from the court. And she was, Willard Myers, when it was all over with and she didn't send me to prison, he was stomped out of there. And I had a friend standing outside in the hall, you know, the fly on the wall. And he walked out of there, and this is just how I put it. He says, what the goddamn hell's going on here? Why isn't she going to prison? And the county attorney's getting him out of there, telling him, we'll go to my office and talk. So he was not happy.
Maybe he didn't get what he paid for.
I have a feeling. But, of course, the state of Montana is who prosecuted me. I don't think he had to pay anything.
Well, not up front.
Oh, not that I know of, anyway.
I mean, you know, it's not fair to always think there's something else at play. Very likely wasn't.
Yeah.
But it's always possible.
Yeah. Well, his wife got on the stand with big old tears coming down and looked at me. And he trusted her so much, and I went like that at her, you know. Oh, you frickin' phony, you.
Shirley, how did you find out about Lawless America?
I'll be darned if I know. I don't remember. I belong to a lawman's group, and I thought maybe that's where you got my name at. I didn't know. I really don't know. How did you find out about me?
I have no idea. I thought you found me.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I got a email one day from you. I don't know how I got it, but I'm glad you did.
Disregarding the website of the movie, what does the term Lawless America mean to you?
Just what it says, Lawless America.
You need to explain that as a whole statement.
I can't. I'm just telling you. To me, the whole damn country's going to hell, you know. It's all lawless as far as I'm concerned. You know, we've got a president in there that doesn't give a darn about this country, you know. And in another 4 years, we're not going to be standing here talking like this, that's for sure, because they're going to be watching everything going on. So if it doesn't get changed, I don't know what's going to happen to our country. We're in a sad, sad situation.
Have you seen many of the videos that we've put up on Facebook about people?
I've not gone into, I've never signed up for Facebook, I guess because I don't want everybody knowing who I am, I guess. I don't know.
Use a maiden name. Make something up.
Well, that's
There's
just
a lot
it,
of
though.
people on there with fake names.
Yeah.
See, Willard, somebody Willard.
Well, see, when I'm on my computer, I'm Smokey Joe.
Smokey Joe.
Yeah.
You could be Smokey Joe on Facebook.
Well, I could, yeah.
Well, it'll make you sick.
I am sure. I'm sure.
Your story's horrible, but there's
So I know there's some a lot worse than mine. But you know, I feel sorry for anybody that walks in a courtroom today. My husband and I have been in court twice in the last month over these children here with their father. And it's not pretty. It's not.
Any last words?
Well, I wish you success in this. I hope something is done about what's going on. It's corruption, plain and clear, you know, it really is.
What would you say to I'll ask you one last question. 99% of the people in America don't realize that we have these problems. How can we get through to them?
I agree. 99% of the Americans don't know what's going on in this country, and I'll tell you something, they don't want to know. They really don't want to know, because you try to talk to somebody about it, and they say, "Oh, don't give me any of that. What do they call us?
Propaganda?
No, it's not. It starts with a C.
Crap?
It's crap, all right." Well, a good way to put it was, I was telling the kids, this pediatrician, I said, "You're giving these kids too many shots." And he told me that was, I'm talking against the government. What do they call that? I can't remember. If Ed was here, I could ask him.
I can't come up with the word, and I'm sitting here.
I know, I can't think.
I have limited short-term memory loss.
I'll be darned if I can think of it. Well, I don't know.
I want you to say one last thing for me. I had 3 children. I have X number of grandchildren, X number of great-grandchildren. Did you work your whole career doing accounting?
Yeah, I did.
Worked my whole career doing accounting work. I've never stolen anything in my life. But one day I was arrested for embezzlement, convicted, sentenced to 20 years, and have to pay back $100,000 that I didn't take. And nobody has come to my aid.
I have to change one thing. I've never been arrested. They have never arrested me for anything.
You weren't even arrested for this.
Huh?
Wait a minute.
I wasn't.
There's another slight problem. No Miranda rights, no arrest, no indictment.
Oh, the Miranda. No, they gave me my Miranda rights, but we sat right in City Hall, and he took it all down, you know, and I didn't know I was on film at the time. They brought it into court, too.
What I want you to do is give a little statement that shows what a nice, wholesome, wonderful grandma you are, and great-grandma, and then how, boom, you were hit.
My life changed. I don't like thinking about it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, but that's why we're here.
I know. Did you say my name?
Wait.
Pardon?
Say your name.
Okay. I'm Shirley Blome. I'm a mother of, I raised 3 sons of my own. I helped my second husband raise 2 girls and a boy. I have 4 grandsons, 2 granddaughters, 2 great-granddaughters and a grandson, and 1 step-grandson. Just one day, my whole world exploded. And I'm serving 20 years probation for this because of a corrupt employer, period.